You guys, I had a light bulb moment yesterday about non-voters, and I got to share it with you really quickly because then I'm leaving for the airport. Okay, so I was at physical therapy yesterday, and I've been seeing this guy. He's a young guy. He's in his late 20s, right? And I've been seeing him a number of times. But we've never really talked about politics. We've just talked about his life, my life. It's good. It's been chill. But in this session, I did mention that I had been to the White House because I was at the White House this week for that party, and it got us talking a little bit about politics. And, just in passing, he said, I don't vote at all. I just don't vote. And there was this pause, like I think he was maybe waiting for me to like yell at him or get into it with him. And instead I just said, oh yeah? I thought maybe he would tell me more about it if I didn't jump on it. And he did. He said, I don't because I don't really have the time to do the research, and I think it's really not a good idea to do that unless you know really what you're talking about. And I just said, oh, huh. And then he said, and on top of that, I know it doesn't matter because I live in California, and I know that like our votes, isn't it true they don't count towards the presidential? Correct me if I'm wrong. And I sensed a bit of an opening because he had said, correct me if I'm wrong. So I said, well, now that's an interesting point. And then I explained to him about the popular vote versus the electoral college. And I just explained, I said, actually, because a lot of people this time didn't vote at the top of the ticket because they were mad at Kamala Harris for some stuff with I didn't go into the details, and I said, as a result of that, actually, Trump won the popular vote for the first time any Republican has in 30 years. And it's made him feel even bolder about executing an agenda that's going to hurt a lot of people. So I was like, actually, it does matter. That does matter a lot. And then I just explained to him about down ballot races. I said, I don't know if you know, but like the decisions that your state legislature make actually affect you on a day-to-day basis much more than federal government decisions, and you have a lot of impact on that. And then there's school boards. I mentioned book bans. He didn't know that there were legislatures and places in the country where books were being banned. He had no idea. He was against it. He just didn't know. So, and then I said on the time thing, like you mentioned that you don't have the time to do the research, I said it's really like an hour or two max. And there are a lot of places that will make it really easy for you to do that research. And I think I had heard him say at one point that he was really into weightlifting. I was like, it's probably an hour or two a year, right, that you would invest in looking up your ballot. Do you think you spend more than that, for example, on looking up weightlifting routines? And he sort of laughed and he was like, yeah, I definitely do. So I was like, it's not that you don't have the time, right? It's more a priority thing. And my guess is that you haven't prioritized it because you didn't fully understand it. And you also maybe didn't think that your voice mattered. And he just sort of nodded. And I was like, I just want to tell you that like your voice does matter. And the things that you vote on, even on a state level, are really impacting your life in huge ways, in every way, from healthcare to, how much taxes you're paying, to whether or not you have to wear a seatbelt in the backseat of your car. Like everything in your life is being impacted by that. So either you make those decisions or someone else is making them for you. And he literally was quiet for a second. And then he said, I just want to thank you because I've told a bunch of my clients that I don't vote, and usually they just yell at me. He said, you are the first person in my life who has ever explained that stuff to me. I really didn't know. It was just such a crazy moment. I tried to stay really calm. I was like, oh yeah, okay, well, I'm really glad I did. Yeah, he was like, I actually had no idea about any of that. So I just sort of said again, like, yeah, so your voice matters. And you seem like a person who cares about a lot of things. And because I had been listening to him, I was like, I knew he had a girlfriend with a kid. And I was like, you care about that kid, right? You want them to be safe, for example, when they go to school. You want them to be protected from you don't want someone with a gun walking in there. And that's laws that affect that stuff. Or whether or not Head Start is available for that kid. Laws affect that stuff. You are interested in healthcare. You want to help. You said you wanted to help seniors. And I explained how Kamala Harris had wanted to expand Medicare to cover more seniors and how Trump was going to cut it and privatize it. He was blown away. So I'm going to stop with this. Just the takeaway for me was like these 90 million non-voters out there. I suddenly had this light bulb that they're probably not bad people. They are just people who have never had someone explain to them why their voice matters and the basics of how government works. And that is shameful about our education system. And it's shameful about our society in general, but it also means like maybe the way in is conversations that start with just getting to know a person and then just gently explaining how this thing works. Because I think I might have converted that guy to at least think about voting next time, and that made me feel so good. And I also think it made him feel good. And there's something in there. To let people know that their voice matters is a really magical thing, and to let them know why it matters is even more magical. So that's my story. I hope it helps someone.